At noon, my online boyfriend sent me a mirror selfie from the gym. 8-pack abs, broad shoulders, a narrow waist, the sexual tension was practically dripping off the screen. Babe, I had a great workout today. Don't you think I deserve a little reward? I was just about to text back, I'll reward you with phone sex twice tonight. But then, my eyes caught the logo printed on the gym wall behind him. Apex Tech. My heart instantly skipped a beat. Because I worked at Apex Tech. And that gym looked exactly like our private corporate gym. I froze on the spot. No way. Was this a joke? The mature daddy I'd been having phone sex with for the past 2 years actually worked at the same company as me? I zoomed in on the photo. Bigger, bigger, and bigger. The logo was clear as day. Apex Tech. It was definitely my office building. Our company gym was strictly VIP, accessible only to internal employees. My online boyfriend was actually my coworker. OMG. Babe, why the silence? Another photo of his abs popped up on my screen. He had casually pulled up his gym tank top. His rock-hard chest and the sharp lines of his V-taper were perfectly reflected in the mirror. The testosterone was practically suffocating. The texts kept rolling in. I know you love this. Why aren't you replying to me, huh? PayPal transfer, $50,000. My brain was short-circuiting. I knew my online boyfriend lived in the same city. But I never, in my wildest dreams, expected us to be under the same roof. Talk about a twisted stroke of fate. After quickly drooling over his abs for a second, I decided to probe. Hey babe, where do you work? Is it by any chance Apex Tech? I typed the words out, then deleted them. Over and over. I didn't know what to say. If I asked, he would definitely ask where I worked. He'd find out I was at Apex Tech, too. And then he would want to meet up. What would I do then? The mere thought of face-to-face interaction with someone I'd been dirty talking with for 2 years made me want to curl up and die of embarrassment. Before I could even process this, another text popped up. Why are you ignoring me? Is my body not doing it for you anymore? Or do you need more shopping money? Another picture of his abs. PayPal transfer, $100,000. PayPal transfer, $100,000. To keep him from sensing my panic, I quickly replied. Just grabbed lunch, sorry. Missed your texts. The abs look amazing. Only then did the text onslaught stop. Good. Now, where's my reward? I didn't dare reply. I stood up from my cubicle and walked over to the elevators, heading straight to the gym on the 5th floor. There were plenty of guys lifting weights, but which one was him? I forced myself to calm down and organize my thoughts. Right now, I needed to figure out 3 things. First, who the hell is my online boyfriend? Second, is he actually a decent guy in real life? Third, if I do find him, do I confess, keep the online relationship going, or break it off? I mean, sexting a coworker is a HR nightmare. Just thinking about it made my skin crawl. Looking back at our 2-year history, we had actually kept our privacy top-notch. We never traded face pics. Even during our FaceTime sessions, we never showed our faces, only our bodies. My boyfriend would only send me photos of his chest and abs whenever I begged for them. Based on that alone, it was almost impossible to identify him. I couldn't exactly go around the office ripping guys' shirts open to compare their patterns with my Snapchat archive. Back at my desk, I looked at my male coworkers. I shuddered. We battled each other in meetings every single day like mortal enemies. If my online boyfriend turned out to be one of them, I would literally die on the spot. I scrolled through our chat history, desperately looking for clues. And I actually found something. Last month, he was struggling to choose a watch. I'm out shopping with a friend. Want to buy a watch? Which one looks better? Which do you prefer? I'll get you one too. He had sent a few photos, and I had picked out the Rolex Daytona. To protect my identity, I had politely declined his offer to buy me one. Whatever you choose is the best, I had said. He bought it right then and there. So all I had to do was look around the office and see who was wearing that exact Rolex Daytona. I took a few laps around the office, secretly staring at every guy's wrist, but I couldn't find a single match. I messaged my boyfriend. Are you wearing your new watch today? He replied instantly with a photo. It showed a man's dress shirt sleeve rolled up slightly, revealing a strong, tanned forearm. On his wrist, the Rolex gleamed with a cold, low-key luxury. Just the way he rested his hand exuded the quiet confidence of a powerful, mature man. Ah, so he had his sleeves rolled up. No wonder. But why hadn't I spotted him? While I was lost in thought, a message popped up on my work WhatsApp from my boss, Julian Vance. Chloe, there are some issues with the proposal. Come to my office right now. When I walked into the corner office, Julian was smiling into his phone, on a call. Yeah babe, I miss you too. Just come to the office tomorrow to see me. Oh, by the way, Ethan is coming over tomorrow. You can hitch a ride with him. Come on, I just don't want you driving all that way by yourself, it's not safe. Alright, have it your way. Drive safe. See you tomorrow. Talk to you later. Kiss kiss. I awkwardly looked away. Yikes. Major cringe. Who knew our tough CEO, Julian, had such a clingy, lovesick side? Julian hung up, cleared his throat, and offered me a professional smile. Chloe, the investors looked at the proposal this morning. They're mostly satisfied, but they had a few notes. I've marked them here. Make the edits based on their feedback. Sure, Julian. I turned to leave, but my eyes caught his wrist. He was wearing a Rolex. The exact Daytona model I had picked out. In an instant, it felt like lightning had struck my brain. I froze. Seeing that I hadn't left, Julian looked up. Yes? Anything else? His voice snapped me out of my shock. I took a deep breath, trying to act casual. I pointed at his wrist. Nice watch, Julian. Julian smiled, his hazel eyes crinkling at the corners. Thanks. My girl helped me pick it out. It is nice, isn't it? Me. Julian grinned. Why? Do you like it? I quickly masked my horror, waving my hand dismissively. Oh, no. Just making conversation. With that, I practically bolted out of his office. A wild, terrifying thought screamed in my head. Julian is my online boyfriend. But if I was his girlfriend, then who the hell was the babe he was just sweet-talking on the phone? Was Julian cheating on his girlfriend with me? Holy shit. And why was Julian so different online versus offline? Online, he was this dominant, mature, daddy-type protector. Offline, he was a gossipy, clingy millennial. I was a complete zombie for the rest of the day. I didn't even reply to my online boyfriend's messages. Somehow, I managed to finish editing the proposal and dragged myself home, feeling absolutely hollow. My phone was buzzing like crazy with notifications from him. Babe, what are you doing? I miss you. It's been a while since we had phone sex. Tonight? Are you there? PayPal transfer, $100,000. Buy yourself something nice. Why are you ignoring me? You're acting weird today. Still no reply. Did I do something wrong? My hands shook as I typed out a reply. Are you keeping secrets from me? He replied within seconds, I've never lied to you about anything. Babe, is there some kind of misunderstanding? No. I tried to calm my racing mind. If my online boyfriend really was Julian, my next step was to figure out if he was cheating on his actual girlfriend. And who exactly was the babe he was hosting tomorrow? What if I was overreacting? What if it was all a misunderstanding? Another text came in. Help me pick an outfit. He sent a photo of several designer suits lined up. I trust your taste. I intentionally chose a navy blue Tom Ford suit. It was distinct enough that I'd easily spot it. Deep down, I was desperately hoping. If Julian didn't wear that suit tomorrow, it meant he wasn't my online boyfriend. Then I wouldn't have to worry about whether my digital lover was a cheating scumbag. The next morning, I walked into Julian's office with the updated proposal. Julian was sitting on the leather sofa, sipping tea. And he was wearing the exact navy blue Tom Ford suit I had picked out last night. Julian, here's the final draft. Julian nodded with a smile. Thanks, Chloe. The lead investor is coming this afternoon. Get ready to present. Will do. I stared at his suit and asked, trying to sound nonchalant. I've never seen you in this suit before, Julian. It looks great on you. Julian smiled. Really? Just bought it yesterday. My heart sank. That confirmed it. Julian was my online boyfriend. Sitting at my desk, I couldn't focus. I kept staring at his glass-walled office. Julian had said his babe was coming today. I wanted to see who she was with my own eyes. If it was what I feared, then this relationship had to end immediately. Half an hour later, a stunning, well-dressed girl walked straight into Julian's office. I grabbed my mug and pretended to go to the break room. As I passed his office, their laughter drifted through the cracked door. I missed you so much. This suit looks incredible on you. Navy blue is definitely your color. Julian's voice was incredibly tender. I'm glad you like it. I wore it just for you. Aren't I meeting your parents tonight? I was worried they wouldn't approve of me. Are you kidding? If I love you, my parents will love you too. Hearing those words felt like a physical blow to my chest. So, the reason he had asked me to choose an outfit was to impress his real girlfriend's parents. What was I, then? A dirty little online secret? A side chick? My stomach churned. I pulled out my phone and typed out a text to my online boyfriend with trembling fingers. You are a piece of trash. We are done. I blocked and deleted his contact immediately. Julian walked out of his office, hand in hand with his girlfriend, waving her goodbye. He didn't look sad at all. I felt like the biggest clown on earth. Thinking about all our late-night chats, a wave of bitterness washed over me. My only saving grace was that I had used a burner Snapchat account and never revealed my real name or face. Otherwise, I'd have to resign and flee the country. I took a deep breath. No guy was worth losing my career over. I was a professional. I wasn't going to quit a great job over some online drama. In the afternoon, Julian messaged me. Chloe, the investor is here. He reviewed the proposal and likes it. Come in and present your pitch. I put on my best professional face, stood tall, and walked in. Chloe, this is our lead investor, who also happens to be my best friend, Ethan Cross. Don't be nervous. Just pitch your ideas to him. I completely ignored Julian and looked at the man sitting on the sofa. My eyes locked with Ethan's. Unlike Julian's warm, approachable vibe, this man exuded pure wealth and power. He had a cold, untouchable aura. He wore a tailored black V-neck suit over a fitted black mock-neck sweater. The sweater clung to his incredibly broad chest, hinting at a powerful build that was teasingly concealed by his jacket. It was enough to make any girl's imagination run wild. His long, pale fingers picked up a glass of water, and he took a slow sip. I was completely intimidated by his presence and swallowed hard. At Julian's prompting, I began my presentation. Once I got into work mode, my confidence returned. I was articulate and poised. By the time I finished, Julian was clapping. Excellent job, Chloe. Ethan, what do you think? Both Julian and I looked at Ethan. But Ethan's eyes weren't on the papers, they were locked onto my collarbone. Suddenly, he said, Miss Miller, that's a beautiful necklace. I looked down. My blouse had a slightly wide neckline, and my crystal pendant necklace was fully visible. Panic seized me. When I bought this necklace, I had sent a close-up photo of it to my online boyfriend. Look at my new necklace. Isn't it pretty? The photo had been a close-up of my collarbone and neck. My online boyfriend had replied, you'd look beautiful wearing anything. Now that the necklace was on display, would Julian recognize it? I shot a quick glance at Julian, but he didn't seem to notice anything. He was just eagerly waiting for Ethan's feedback. Of course. Julian had a real girlfriend. To him, I was just a fun online distraction. Why would he remember a detail like that? Only a fool like me would treasure every single memory. I awkwardly covered my collarbone with my hand. Thanks. Just a cheap piece of jewelry. Julian sat down next to Ethan and took a sip of his coffee. So, what's the verdict? Julian stared at Ethan, but Ethan kept his eyes on me. After a long pause, he slowly murmured. It's perfect. Hearing this, Julian happily slapped Ethan's shoulder. Ethan, you're a lifesaver. I knew I could count on you. I let out a quiet sigh of relief. All those sleepless nights working on this proposal had finally paid off. Ethan brushed Julian's hand off his shoulder with a look of mild annoyance, then looked back at me with a faint, rare smile. Credit goes to Miss Miller. She's incredibly talented. Even though it was our first meeting, I felt an odd sensation. The intensity in Ethan's gaze made my ears burn. Julian looked shocked. Whoa, hold on. Did the Ice King just pay someone a compliment? Well, to be fair, Chloe is amazing. Anyone would praise her. But you? Complimenting a girl? That's a first. Did the sun rise from the west today? Oh, wait. I forgot about your girlfriend, actually, ex-girlfriend. She dumped you, didn't she? My bad, big mouth. My ears instantly perked up. Boo, T. The legendary billionaire investor, Ethan Cross, got dumped? Who on earth would be dumb enough to dump a guy like him? The next second, Ethan shot a dark, brooding glance in my direction. I quickly looked down, suddenly feeling inexplicably guilty. Ethan looked away, took a sip of his tea, and said coldly to Julian. Keep talking, and I'll pull my funding. Julian immediately held his hands up in surrender. All right. My bad. You really can't take a joke, can you? Trying to calm my racing heart, I quickly excused myself. Julian, Mr. Cross, if that's all, I'll head back to my desk. I practically fled the room. Back at my desk, Julian sent me another message on WhatsApp. Chloe, are you free tonight? Mr. Cross still has a few questions about the proposal. He wants to discuss it over dinner. Our treat. I replied coldly, not interested. If you go, I'll double your year-end bonus. Hey, nobody turns down free money. I replied instantly. Deal. Send me the address. Locking my phone, I thought about Julian meeting his girlfriend's parents tonight. A pang of sadness hit me, but I shook it off. Well, Chloe, I thought to myself, unlucky in love, lucky in career. The restaurant Julian picked was a Michelin-starred Japanese omakase joint. Hidden in a quiet alleyway downtown. It had 8 seats at the counter, dark wood paneling, and an aura of obscene wealth. I arrived 10 minutes early, wearing my best professional blazer and praying that I could get through this meal, claim my doubled year-end bonus, and retreat to my apartment to drown my embarrassment in ice cream and reality TV. When I was shown to our private corner at the bar, Ethan Cross was already sitting there. He had removed his suit jacket, leaving him in a pitch-black, fitted dress shirt, with the sleeves rolled up to his forearms. My breath caught in my throat. Those forearms. Tan skin, prominent veins tracing down toward broad wrists, a dusting of dark hair. I froze halfway into taking my seat. My brain involuntarily flashed back to the photo my online boyfriend had sent me just yesterday, the one of his rolled-up sleeve showing off the Rolex. I forced my eyes away, my chest tightening. Lots of guys have veins on their arms, I told myself sternly. Lots of guys lift weights. Stop being paranoid. Miss Miller, Ethan said, his deep, resonant voice cutting through the quiet hum of the restaurant. He didn't look up from his phone right away. Sit down. Good evening, Mr. Cross, I said, sliding onto the leather bar stool next to him, leaving a precise one-seat buffer between us. Is Julian running late? Julian isn't coming, Ethan replied casually, locking his phone screen and placing it face down on the polished wooden counter. I blinked. What? His girlfriend's father bumped up their dinner reservation. He begged me to cover for him, muttered something about his future father-in-law hating tardiness, and practically ran out of the building. Ethan finally turned his head to look at me. His eyes were a striking, cool gray, sharp, analytical, and entirely unreadable. I hope you don't mind dining with just me. Mind? My heart was hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. Oh. Of course not, Mr. Cross. Work is work, I lied smoothly, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. Relax, Chloe. We aren't on the clock. He signaled the chef with a subtle lift of 2 fingers. Do you have any dietary restrictions? Allergies? No, none. Good. We'll take the chef's tasting menu, paired with sake. The chef nodded deferentially and began preparing the first course. I sat stiffly, trying to keep my posture flawless. Beside me, Ethan relaxed back into his seat, one hand resting lightly on the edge of the counter. That was when I noticed his wrist. He wasn't wearing a watch. There was a faint, pale line on his tan skin where a watch usually sat. My mind started racing again. Where was his watch? Why wasn't he wearing the Daytona? Julian was wearing the Daytona this morning. Before I could spiral further, Ethan took a slow sip of ice water and spoke. His tone was smooth, conversational, but underlying it was a heavy, suffocating gravity. Julian told me you've been at Apex Tech for 3 years. 3 years and 2 months, I corrected, keeping my voice steady. I started in market research before moving up to strategy. Impressive. Your proposal today was exceptionally sharp. You have a keen eye for detail. Ethan leaned slightly closer, his shadow falling over my side of the counter. You notice things other people miss. Thank you, Mr. Cross. Detail is everything in our line of work. Is it? A faint, enigmatic smirk played at the corner of his lips. Then tell me, Miss Miller, why did you look so terrified when I complimented your necklace earlier? My stomach plunged into a freefall. I instinctively reached up, my fingers brushing against the crystal pendant resting on my collarbone. I wasn't terrified, I stammered, cursing myself for the slight wobble in my voice. I was just surprised. It's not an expensive piece. I didn't expect someone of your stature to notice it. Price has nothing to do with value, Ethan said softly. His gray eyes dragged down from my eyes to my neck, tracing the exact line where the crystal rested against my skin. I knew someone who had a necklace just like that. She sent me a picture of it once. Thump. My heart gave a violent, painful thud against my ribs. Oh, really? I managed to choke out, my hands trembling under the table. That must be a coincidence. It's a common design. Maybe, Ethan murmured, picking up his glass of sake as the chef placed our first course, a delicate slice of otoro topped with caviar, in front of us. Or maybe people just share a preference for beautiful things. He took a sip of the sake, his throat moving in a slow, hypnotic swallow. I couldn't eat. My appetite had completely vanished, replaced by an overwhelming, agonizing realization that was slowly stitching itself together in my brain. The gym at Apex Tech. The broad shoulders and 8-pack abs. The rolled-up sleeves. The exact model of the Rolex. The mention of getting dumped by his online girlfriend today. And now, the necklace. Julian hadn't bought that Rolex. Ethan had. Julian must have borrowed it, or Ethan gave it to him, or Julian copied him. Julian hadn't picked that navy suit. Ethan had. And when Julian said his girlfriend helped him pick out his watch, he was talking about his actual girlfriend, the girl who came into his office today. Julian was never my online boyfriend. Ethan Cross was. The terrifying, ruthless, billionaire investor sitting 10 inches away from me was the man who had been sending me $100,000 PayPal transfers, begging for My body photos, and talking filthy, unspeakable things into my ear at 2 in the morning for the past 2 years. My breath hitched. I felt the blood drain entirely from my face. And I had just texted him 3 hours ago, "You are a piece of trash. We are done." And then I blocked him. Oh, God. I was dead. I was completely, utterly dead. "You aren't eating, Chloe." Ethan's voice shattered my paralyzed internal panic. I jerked my head toward him. He was watching me intently, his elbow resting on the bar, his chin resting lightly on his knuckles. Up close, his features were unfairly handsome, sharp jawline, dense dark lashes, and an aura of absolute control that practically demanded submission. How had I missed it? Online, his tone was always dominant, heavy, authoritative. He spoke like a man who was used to owning everything he looked at. Offline, he masked it under a veneer of cold corporate professionalism, but the core was exactly the same. I'm just not very hungry tonight, Mr. Cross, I stammered, my voice barely a whisper. "I have a bit of a headache." "A headache?" Ethan raised an eyebrow. He reached out. Before I could flinch away, his long, warm fingers gently brushed against my forehead, checking my temperature. His skin was warm, calloused at the palm, the skin of a man who lifted heavy iron. The exact touch I had imagined 1,000 times while lying shivering in my bed, listening to his dark voice over the phone. The contrast between his cool demeanor and the scorching heat of his hand sent a shockwave straight down my spine. "You don't feel feverish," Ethan said softly, his thumb lightly brushing across my temple before he slowly withdrew his hand. "But you do look pale. Did something happen today to upset you?" "No. Nothing at all," I squeaked out, shrinking back slightly. "Just a long day at the office." Ethan picked up his phone from the counter. He didn't unlock it, just turned it over in his hand, tapping his index finger against the dark glass. "It's funny," Ethan said, his voice dropping an octave, slipping into that lower, raspier register that sent shivers through my entire body. "I had a rather terrible afternoon myself." My throat went bone dry. "Why, you did?" "Yes." Ethan stared at the phone screen, his expression darkening into something stormy and dangerous. "Someone I care about very deeply. Someone I've spent the last 2 years cherishing, taking care of, and giving everything she asked for, suddenly cut me off today." I swallowed hard, incapable of making a sound. "She didn't even give me a chance to explain," Ethan continued, turning his head slowly to lock his intense gray eyes onto mine. "She sent me a text calling me a piece of trash, told me we were done, and blocked my number. Out of nowhere." The air in the private dining room suddenly felt completely depleted of oxygen. I gripped the edge of my seat so hard my knuckles turned white. That sounds terrible," I managed to say, every instinct screaming at me to run out the door, jump into a taxi, and change my name. "She sounds very impulsive. Maybe she made a mistake." "A mistake?" Ethan's lips curved into a dark, predatory smile. "Oh, I'm sure she did. She's a very clever girl, but she tends to jump to conclusions when she's flustered." He leaned in closer. The subtle scent of cedarwood, expensive tobacco, and rain enveloped me. It was the exact cologne scent he had described to me months ago. When I asked him what he smelled like. "Do you know what the worst part is, Chloe?" he murmured, his voice hovering right next to my ear. What? "She left me before I could give her her reward for being a good girl today." Boom. My brain completely exploded. A reward for being a good girl. That was the exact phrase he used in our texts. Every single time. My heart was beating so hard I thought it was going to burst through my ribs. I stared at him, wide-eyed, completely stripped of my professional composure. He knew. He knew it was me. He had figured it out. "Mr. Cross." I stammered, my voice trembling wildly. I think I really need to go home." I scrambled to grab my handbag, my hands shaking so violently I nearly knocked over my sake glass. I pushed back from the counter, ready to make a desperate dash for the exit. "Chloe." His voice wasn't loud, but the sheer weight of authority in it locked my boots to the floor. Ethan stood up. Standing at 6 feet 2 inches, he completely towered over me, his massive frame blocking the low ambient light of the restaurant. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a thick black leather wallet, slapped a stack of $100 bills onto the counter without even counting them, and grabbed my coat from the rack. "Come," he said, holding the coat open for me. "I'll drive you home." No, thank you, Mr. Cross, I can take a cab." "I wasn't asking, Miss Miller." He stepped closer, draped the heavy wool coat over my shoulders, and his hands lingered on my collarbones, gently pulling the lapels together. His knuckles brushed the sensitive skin of my neck, sending an intoxicating, terrifying electricity straight down my nerves. "We have 2 years of catching up to do," he whispered against my ear, his breath hot against my skin. "And you owe me an explanation." The ride in Ethan's dark Maybach was pure psychological torture. The privacy glass was rolled up, separating us from the driver. The interior was lined with soft black leather, dimly lit by ambient blue LED lights. It felt less like a luxury vehicle and more like a high-tech velvet trap. I was pressed flat against the door on the passenger side, staring out the window at the blurred city lights, trying to shrink into non-existence. Ethan sat on the opposite side, relaxed, leg crossed over his knee. But despite his relaxed posture, his eyes had never left me for a single second since we got into the car. The silence was deafening. Finally, unable to bear the suffocating tension any longer, I snapped. "How long have you known?" I asked, turning my head to glare at him, trying to summon whatever courage I had left. Ethan tapped his fingers against his knee. "Since you ran out of Julian's office. This morning after staring at his watch." My jaw dropped. "What?" "Julian came into my office right after you left," Ethan explained smoothly, his voice calm and measured. He was laughing. "He told me, Chloe just gave me the weirdest look. She complimented my Rolex and looked like she saw a ghost." I asked him which Rolex he was wearing. He said it was the Daytona I gave him last week. I stared at him, stunned. You gave him that watch?" "Julian helped me secure the Apex tech deal 6 months ago. He pestered me about that watch for weeks because his girlfriend liked it. I bought a second one and gave it to him." Ethan leaned forward, sliding across the leather seat toward me. "And the navy suit?" "Julian saw it sitting in my office yesterday after I bought it. He liked it so much he went out and bought the exact same one that afternoon." I felt an intense wave of heat flush up my neck to my cheeks. It was all a giant, ridiculous misunderstanding. Julian wasn't my online boyfriend. Julian was just a copycat who liked Ethan's style. So I swallowed hard, my cheeks burning with shame. "When I saw Julian with his girlfriend." "You thought I was Julian," Ethan finished the sentence for me, a dangerous glint flashing in his gray eyes. "You thought I was two-timing you with a woman in my office. And without even asking me, without giving me a single second to explain, you sent me a text calling me trash, blocked my number, and dumped me." I squeezed my eyes shut, wanting nothing more than the earth to open up and swallow me whole. I was flustered. I defended myself weakly, covering my face with my hands. "I saw the logo on the gym wall in your selfie. I realized my online boyfriend worked at my company. Then I saw Julian wearing the exact watch and the exact suit I picked out for you 12 hours prior. Any rational person would have drawn the same conclusion." "A rational person would have asked," Ethan said, his voice dropping low, thick with reprimand. Before I could react, Ethan reached out, grabbed my wrists, and gently but firmly pulled my hands away from my face. He didn't let go. His large, warm hands encased my wrists, his thumb rubbing small, hypnotic circles over my pulse point, which was hammering like crazy. "Do you have any idea what went through my head today, Chloe?" Ethan murmured, pulling me an inch closer. "I received that text right before my biggest investment meeting of the quarter. I spent the entire afternoon trying to figure out what I did wrong. I thought you found someone else. I thought you grew tired of me." "I didn't," I blurted out, looking up into his eyes. "I didn't grow tired of you. I was heartbroken." The word slipped out before I could filter it. "Heartbroken." Ethan froze. The harshness in his eyes melted instantly, replaced by a deep, dark intensity that made my breath catch in my throat. "Heartbroken," he repeated softly, testing the word on his tongue. I mean. I panicked, trying to pull my wrists back, but his grip was like iron, yielding yet totally unyielding. "I mean, I was angry. Fooled. Embarrassed." "No," Ethan whispered, sliding closer until there was no space left between us. On the leather bench. "You said heartbroken." He released one of my wrists and brought his hand up to cup my jaw. His thumb brushed over my lower lip, causing my body to betray me with a sharp, involuntary shiver. "You really thought I was Julian?" Ethan asked, a dark, possessive smile playing on his lips. "That gossipy, loud-mouthed idiot? Hey. He's my CEO." I protested, though my voice lacked any real bite. "He's a fool," Ethan corrected dismissively. "And you, my sweet, brilliant Foolish girl, spent 2 years telling me dirty secrets over the phone, letting me buy you whatever you wanted, begging me for abs pictures. Stop. Please stop talking. I whined, my face burning so hot I thought I was going to combust. Oh my god, this is an HR nightmare. You're our lead investor. I'm an employee. If anyone finds out. Nobody is going to find out, Ethan cut me off firmly. Unless you want them to. He leaned in, his lips hovering mere millimeters from mine. I could feel the intense heat radiating from him, smell the intoxicating mix of his cologne and masculine warmth. 2 years, Chloe, he murmured, his voice velvety and commanding. 2 years of listening to your voice every night. 2 years of holding back because I wanted to wait until the right moment to meet you in person. Do you really think I'm going to let you run away now just because of a stupid misunderstanding? Ethan. I gasped, using his first name for the first time. Unblock me, he commanded softly, his thumb pressing against my lower lip, forcing it open slightly. What? Pull out your phone. Unblock my number. Right now. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely type my passcode. Ethan watched me like a hawk as I opened Snapchat and WhatsApp, pulled his profile out of the blocked list, and restored his contact. Ping. Instantly, a notification popped up on my screen. PayPal transfer, $100,000. Note, penalty for throwing a tantrum and blocking your man. I stared at the screen, my jaw dropping. Ethan. Are you insane? Take this back. No, Ethan said calmly, leaning back against the leather seat as the Maybach smoothly pulled up to the curb of my apartment building. That's your punishment. And don't you dare transfer it back, or I'll double it. You can't just throw money at me every time I get mad at you. I can, and I will, he replied smoothly, a triumphant glint in his eyes. I have plenty of it, and you like spending it. It's a system that works for us. I opened my mouth to argue, but the car had stopped. Through the tinted window, I saw the familiar brick exterior of my apartment complex. I took a deep breath, trying to regain some semblance of my professional identity. Mr. Cross. Ethan. This is crazy. We work together now. Well, indirectly. You're funding Apex Tech's new AI project, which I am leading. We can't do this. Ethan unbuckled his seatbelt and turned to face me fully. The playfulness vanished from his posture, replaced by that absolute, unshakable authority that made my knees weak. We have been doing this for 2 years, Chloe, he said quietly. The only difference is that now, I can actually touch you. A violent tremor ran through me at his words. Tomorrow morning, at 9 o'clock, Ethan continued, reaching out to gently tuck a lock of my hair behind my ear. You will present the Phase 2 implementation plan in the main boardroom. I will be sitting at the head of the table. He leaned in, his lips brushing the shell of my ear, sending a fiery shiver down my neck. Be professional, Miss Miller, he whispered teasingly. Because if you mess up your presentation, I might have to discipline you in my office. My breath caught. You wouldn't dare. Ethan pulled back, a slow, wicked grin spreading across his face. Try me. Good night, babe. Get some sleep. You look tired. I practically threw myself out of the Maybach, my heart hammering against my ribs as I sprinted into my building lobby. I didn't look back until I was safely inside my apartment, with the door double-locked and deadbolt. I collapsed against the front door, my chest heaving, my face flushed bright red. My phone buzzed in my hand. I looked down. Daddy, did you lock your door? I trembled, my fingers flying across the screen. Daddy, good girl. Now go shower. And wear that silk nightgown I bought you last month. I want a picture before I go to sleep. I stared at the screen, my lips trembling into a small, helpless smile. 2 years of online intimacy, and I thought I knew him. But real-life Ethan Cross was 1,000 times more intense, demanding, and overwhelming than the digital version ever was. And God help me, I loved every single second of it. The next morning, the high-rise office of Apex Tech was buzzing with tension. Ethan Cross wasn't just any investor, his venture firm, Cross Capital, controlled billions. Having him personally attend a mid-level strategy review was unprecedented. I stood in front of the full-length mirror in the executive restroom, adjusting my white silk blouse and high-waisted black pencil skirt. I looked polished, professional, and entirely unbothered, a complete facade hiding the fact that I had slept for maybe 3 hours last night. Every time I closed my eyes, I remembered the picture I had sent him at 1 o'clock a.m., a shy photo of me in the emerald silk nightgown, and his instant, dark reply. If I didn't have an 8 a.m. meeting with the board, would be at your apartment. Right now tearing that off you. Chloe. Are you ready? Julian called out, knocking on the restroom door frame. As he passed by. Ethan just arrived. He looks like he's in a mood today. Extremely cold. Try not to provoke him. I squeezed my eyes shut, taking a deep breath. If only you knew, Julian. If only. You knew. Coming, Julian. When I walked into the main boardroom, the atmosphere was thick enough to cut with a knife. 6 senior executives were seated around the long glass conference table. At the head of the table sat Ethan. He was wearing a tailored charcoal suit today, crisp white shirt, dark tie. He looked pristine, ruthless, and terrifyingly handsome. A leather-bound notebook sat open in front of him, and he was twirling a heavy Montblanc pen between his long fingers. When I entered, his eyes snapped to me immediately. His gaze dragged slowly down my body, taking in the fitted blouse, the tight skirt, my high heels, before returning to my face. The subtle flame of heat in his gray eyes was unmistakable, but his expression remained deadpan and icy. Good morning, everyone, I said, stepping up to the podium and clicking on the presentation screen. Today, I'll be presenting the Phase 2 deployment strategy for our enterprise AI platform. For the next 40 minutes, I was in my element. I spoke clearly, presented complex data metrics seamlessly, and answered tough technical questions from the VP of Engineering with effortless grace. Throughout the entire pitch, Ethan didn't say a single word. He just sat there, twirling his pen, his intense gaze fixed on me. In conclusion, I said, clicking to the final slide, with cross capitals. Funding, we project a 140% ROI within the first 2 quarters. Thank you. The room broke into polite applause. Julian was beaming. Fantastic presentation, Chloe. Julian said proudly. He looked over at Ethan. Ethan, thoughts? The room fell dead silent. Everyone looked at the billionaire investor, waiting for his verdict. Ethan slowly put his pen down. He leaned back in his leather chair, crossing his hands over his knee. The data is solid, Ethan said smoothly, his deep voice carrying through the quiet room. The projections are realistic. Miss Miller's execution strategy is flawless. I let out a tiny, imperceptible breath of relief. However, Ethan added, his eyes locking onto mine with a wicked, subtle glint. I have a few granular concerns regarding the budget allocation in Section 4. I need a line-by-line breakdown. Julian nodded immediately. Of course. Chloe can email you the detailed report. No, Ethan interrupted coldly. I prefer in-person briefings. Miss Miller. Bring the physical files to my temporary office on the top floor. Right now. He stood up, buttoned his suit jacket with effortless grace, and walked out of the boardroom without waiting for a response. The executives began chatting and gathering their things. Julian walked over to me, clapping my shoulder sympathetically. Sorry, Chloe. Ethan is a total perfectionist when it comes to money. Good luck. Up there. Don't let him intimidate you. I looked at Julian, feeling a sudden surge of dark, ironic humor. Don't worry, Julian, I said, holding my file folder tightly against my chest. I know exactly how to handle him. The executive suite on the 20th floor was completely quiet. Since Ethan was a visiting investor, Apex Tech had assigned him the private penthouse office, normally reserved for visiting dignitaries. I knocked twice on the heavy frosted glass door. Enter. I pushed the door open and stepped inside. The office was massive, featuring floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city skyline. Ethan was standing by the window, his suit jacket off, his tie loosened slightly at the collar. The moment the heavy door clicked shut behind me, Ethan turned around. He didn't look like a cold billionaire investor anymore. He looked like a hungry predator who had finally cornered his prey. Close the blind, Chloe, he said, his voice dropping into that dark, velvety register that made my throat go dry. Ethan, we are in an office building, I stammered, holding the thick file folder in front of my chest like a shield. There are glass windows. The glass is one-way smart glass, Ethan replied, stepping away from the window and walking slowly toward me. No one outside can see in. Lock the door. My heart pounded violently against my ribs. My fingers fumbled behind my back, finding the lock mechanism and twisting it. Click. The sound echoed through the silent office like a gunshot. Ethan stopped right in front of me. He was so tall, so broad, his presence completely overwhelming the space between us. Section 4 budget allocation. I tried to sound professional, raising the folder. I brought the files. Ethan didn't even look at the folder. He reached out, grabbed the files from my hands, and casually tossed them onto the massive mahogany desk behind him. The papers scattered everywhere, but he didn't care. In one swift, fluid motion, he grabbed my waist and lifted me up, setting me down onto the edge of the desk. Ah! I gasped, my hands instinctively flying to his broad shoulders for balance. Ethan stepped between my knees, his hands resting firmly on the wood on either side of my hips, trapping me completely. You looked agonizingly gorgeous down there today, babe, Ethan whispered, leaning down so his face was inches from mine. Standing at that podium, wearing this tight skirt, do you know how hard it was for me to sit there and act like I didn't want to bend you over that conference table? Ethan. I blushed furiously, trying to push against his hard chest, but he didn't budge an inch. It was like pushing against a brick wall. You were supposed to be reviewing my proposal. I reviewed it, he murmured, his gaze dropping to my lips. And I approved it. Now I'm collecting my interest. He didn't give me a chance to reply. Ethan leaned down and captured my lips in a deep, fierce, possessive kiss. A soft gasp escaped my mouth, and he took immediate advantage of it, deepening the kiss, his tongue sliding against mine with practiced, overwhelming mastery. It wasn't a gentle kiss, it was a declaration of ownership, 2 years of pent-up desire, late-night phone calls, and dark fantasies exploding all at once. My brain melted. All my professional boundaries, my fears, my worries about corporate politics vanished into thin air. My hands slid up from his shoulders, burying my fingers into his thick, dark hair, pulling him closer. I let out a low moan into his mouth, tilting my head back. Ethan growled softly against my lips, a raw, primal sound that sent a jolt of liquid heat straight down to my thighs. His large hand slid down my waist, gripping my thigh through the fabric of my skirt, hoisting me further onto the desk, pulling my body tightly against his. I could feel the hard, rigid length of his arousal pressing against my core. Through his trousers. He was huge. Absolutely massive. Ethan. I panted, breaking the kiss, my head resting against his chest as I gasped for air. We can't, not here. Ethan buried his face in the crook of my neck, kissing the sensitive skin right above my collarbone, his hot breath sending shivers across my body. Why not? He murmured raspy against my skin, his hands sliding up my leg, under the hem of my pencil skirt, his fingers brushing against the lace of my panties. The door is locked. The glass is opaque. You are mine, Chloe. You've been mine. For 2 years. I have to go back down, I squeaked, my eyes flying open in pleasure and terror as his thumb found my sensitive spot through the damp silk of my underwear. Julian. Julian will wonder where I am. At the mention of Julian's name, Ethan paused. He lifted his head, his gray eyes dark with intense, storm-like passion. Julian, Ethan repeated softly, a dangerous smirk touching his lips. Right. The guy you thought was your daddy. I didn't. I whined, my cheeks burning. I told you, it was a mistake. Ethan chuckled, a low, rumbling sound that vibrated against my chest. He lightly pinched my hip through my skirt, making me gasp. I think I need to remind you who your man actually is, Ethan whispered, his voice dark and dripping with raw dominance. Tonight. My penthouse. 8 p.m. I have work. I am your investor, Miss Miller, Ethan interrupted, stepping back slightly. Though his hands remained on my waist, keeping me grounded. I am ordering you to attend a private strategy session at my residence. If you are late, there will be severe consequences. He slid his hands down my legs, smoothing out my pencil skirt, then reached over to pick up the scattered file papers from the desk. He stacked them neatly and placed them back into my hands. He smoothed down his own tie, buttoned his jacket, and returned to his cold, terrifyingly composed CEO persona in a matter of seconds. You are dismissed, Miss Miller, Ethan said calmly, pointing toward the door. See you at 8. I sat on the desk, holding my file folder, panting, my hair slightly disheveled, my lips swollen, and my core throbbing. I looked at him, completely utterly conquered. Yes. Mr. Cross, I whispered flushed. At 7:55 p.m., I stood outside the private elevator doors on the top floor of the most prestigious luxury skyscraper in the city. I was wearing a simple, elegant red velvet cocktail dress, classy, but fitted enough to show off my curves. I had spent 2 hours doing my hair and makeup, my heart fluttering like crazy the entire time. Ding. The private elevator doors slid open directly into Ethan's penthouse. It was breathtaking. Double-height ceilings, floor-to-ceiling windows showing a panoramic 360-degree view of the glowing city skyline, sleek modern furniture, and ambient warm lighting. You're 5 minutes early, a deep voice echoed from the living room. Ethan walked out from the kitchen holding 2 crystal glasses of scotch. He had stripped off his suit, wearing only a black cashmere sweater with the sleeves pushed up to his elbows and dark tailored trousers. He looked effortlessly, impossibly attractive. Punctuality is a virtue, I replied, stepping out of the elevator, my heels clicking softly against the dark marble floor. Ethan walked over, handed me one of the glasses, and his eyes swept over my red dress. A dark, appreciative gleam flashed in his gray eyes. "Red suits you," he murmured, taking a sip of his drink. "Though I prefer you in green. Or nothing at all." "Ethan." I laughed nervously, taking a sip of the scotch to calm my nerves. It was smooth, rich, and incredibly expensive. "Can we please try to have a normal conversation first? We've known each other for 2 years, but we've never actually talked like normal people." Ethan smiled, a genuine, warm smile that completely transformed his intimidating face. "Fair enough," he said, gesturing toward the plush leather sofa. "Come. Sit." We sat down together on the sofa. For the next hour, the tension between us slowly dissolved into comfortable, easy banter. Without the screen separating us, I discovered things about him I never knew. I learned that he started his first tech company in his college dorm, that he hated political dinners, that his mother was an art historian, and that he bought his gym tank tops in bulk because he hated shopping for clothes. And he learned about me, my upbringing, my passion for strategic planning, my secret love for trashy romance novels. "So," I said, leaning back against the sofa cushions, swirling the liquid in my glass, "how did a billionaire investor end up on an anonymous chat app 2 years ago?" Ethan looked down at his glass, his expression turning thoughtful. "2 years ago, my firm was expanding rapidly," Ethan said quietly. "I was working 18-hour days. Everyone around me, employees, partners, friends, wanted something from me. Money, influence, decisions. I was completely surrounded by people, but entirely exhausted." He turned his head to look at me, his gray eyes soft and full of genuine emotion. "I downloaded that app on a whim, looking for a distraction. And then I met you." My breath hitched. "You didn't know who I was," Ethan continued, his voice dropping low. "You didn't care about my money or my status. You just laughed at my bad jokes. Talked shit about your day, and let me be myself. For the first time in years, I felt like a human being, not an investment fund." "Ethan." My heart melted completely. "I fell for you long before I ever saw a picture of your body, Chloe," Ethan said softly, reaching out to take the glass from my hand and setting both our drinks on the coffee table. He cupped my cheek with his warm palm. "The money transfers, the gifts, that was just my foolish way of trying to take care of you, to make your life easier." Tears pricked at the corners of my eyes. All this time, I thought I was just a fun, filthy online distraction for a rich guy. I had no idea that I had been his sanctuary. "I'm sorry," I whispered, resting my hand over his on my cheek. "I'm sorry I blocked you yesterday. I was terrified of getting hurt." "You will never get hurt with me, babe," Ethan promised, his thumb gently wiping away a stray tear from my eyelid. "I've got you. Forever." He pulled me into his arms, kissing me softly, deeply, tenderly. This time, there was no rush, no corporate boundary, no fear. It was just two people who had spent 2 years wandering in the dark, finally finding their way into each other's arms. 3 weeks later, the partnership between Apex Tech and Cross Capital was officially signed and sealed. The AI project was moving forward ahead of schedule, and the stock price of Apex Tech had skyrocketed by 30%. It was a Friday afternoon, and Julian Vance was hosting a small celebration drink in his executive office with Ethan and me. "To the future of Apex Tech." Julian raised his glass of champagne, grinning broadly. "And to Ethan, the best investor a guy could ask for." "To the team," Ethan said smoothly, clinking his glass against Julian's and then gently tapping mine. I took a sip, smiling professional, though under the desk, Ethan's leather-clad shoe was lightly rubbing against my ankle, making my toes curl inside my heels. "By the way, Ethan," Julian said, taking a gulp of champagne and leaning back against his desk. "Did you ever figure out who that online girlfriend of yours was? The one who dumped you 3 weeks ago?" I instantly choked on my champagne, coughing violently. "Chloe, are you okay?" Julian asked, handing me a napkin. I'm fine, Julian." "Wrong pipe," I gasped, wiping my mouth, my face red. Ethan calmly patted my back, a faint, dark smirk dancing on his lips. "Actually, Julian," Ethan said smoothly, looking at the CEO. "We work things out." Julian's eyes went wide. "Really? You got back together? Man, you've got to introduce me to her. Who is she? Is she an heiress? A model?" Ethan reached out, gently took my hand in front of Julian, and intertwined his long fingers with mine. Julian froze. His jaw slowly dropped. His champagne glass tilted precariously in his hand, nearly spilling onto his immaculate rug. He looked at our joined hands. Then he looked at Ethan. Then he looked at me. Then back at Ethan. Wait. Julian stammered, his brain visibly melting in real time. Wait. Chloe. Ethan. You. Miss Miller is my girlfriend, Julian, Ethan said calmly, as if stating that. The sky was blue. She has been for 2 years. 2 years? Julian practically screamed, popping out of his chair. Chloe worked for me for 3 years. You guys, you met online? Well, she was working in my strategy department? Yes, Ethan replied smoothly. Julian pointed a finger at Ethan, then at me, realization dawning on his face. Like a tidal wave. Holy shit. Julian yelled, slapping his forehead. The watch. The navy suit. 3 weeks ago when Chloe looked at me like I was a demon. She thought I was you? I covered my face with my free hand, groaning in total embarrassment. Julian. Please. Julian burst into uncontrollable, hysterical laughter, doubled over his desk. Oh my god. This is the funniest thing I have ever heard in my life. The ice-cold Ethan Cross, texting my star strategist for 2 years. And she dumped you because of my suit. Ethan shot Julian a cool, warning glare, though his grip on my hand remained warm and tight. If you tell a single soul in this office, Julian, Ethan said softly, his voice dropping into that terrifying billionaire tone, I will pull funding from your Phase 3 expansion. Julian immediately stopped laughing, standing up straight, wiping a tear from his eye, and making a, zipping his lips, motion across his mouth. Mum's the word, boss. Silent as a grave. Julian promised, though he was still shaking with suppressed giggles. Congratulations, you crazy kids. Just please don't do anything inappropriate in the corporate gym. I blushed bright red, hiding my head against Ethan's shoulder. Ethan laughed, a rich, booming, genuine laugh that filled the room. He wrapped his arm tightly around my waist, pulling me close against his side. No promises, Julian, Ethan said, kissing the top of my head. No promises at all. 6 months later. The news of our relationship eventually came out, not through office gossip, but through a massive feature in Forbes magazine. The cover picture showed Ethan sitting in his penthouse office, looking regal and commanding, with me standing beside him, my hand resting comfortably on his shoulder, wearing a massive, flawless diamond ring on my left hand. The headline read, Tech's new power couple, Ethan Cross and Chloe Miller. That evening, we were lying in the massive king-sized bed of his penthouse. The city light sparkled outside the glass windows, casting a soft, romantic glow over the room. I was lying on Ethan's hard, broad chest, my fingers tracing the sharp, carved lines of his 8-pack abs, the very same abs I used to stare at on my phone screen. Thinking about something? Ethan asked softly, his long fingers playing with my hair. Just thinking about how crazy life is, I murmured, resting my chin on his chest, looking up into his handsome face. 2 years ago, I thought you were just some wealthy, arrogant guy on the internet. And now? Ethan smiled, turning over, pinning me gently beneath his massive frame, his dark gray eyes full of endless love and devotion. Now I know you're just my wealthy, arrogant guy, I teased, wrapping my legs around his waist. Ethan chuckled, leaning down to capture my lips in a slow, deep, breathtaking kiss that made my heart fly. His hand slid down my body, pulling out his phone from the nightstand, and tapping the screen twice. Ping. My phone on the dresser buzzed. I looked over at it, laughing softly. Ethan, we are in the same bed. Did you just send me a text? Check it, he commanded softly, his lips tracing a path of fiery kisses down my jaw to my neck. I reached over, picked up my phone, and unlocked the screen. Daddy, PayPal transfer, $1 million. Note, for being the best girl in the world. Forever. I stared at the screen, tears of happiness welling up in my eyes. Ethan, $1 million? Consider it a down payment on our wedding, Ethan whispered against my lips, sliding his hand beneath my silk nightgown, pulling me flush against his warm, powerful body. Now, babe, where's my reward? I dropped the phone onto the carpet, wrapped my arms around his neck, and pulled him down into a kiss. Right here, Daddy, I whispered. Right here.